Hi everyone, it is April from Getting Hooked With It. Today I'm here to do the Ride or Die book tag. Let's get into it. Okay, so I saw this book tag over at What Victoria Reads. Her channel is wonderful. She's a British booktuber. I love her so much. So go and check her out. I will also link the original tag in the description box below. But as she was going through the questions and going through her answers, I was like, yeah, I need to do this tag. So before we get into it, in case you're wondering, this is Nora's birthday gift for her birthday party. Which is this weekend. It's a ride-on donkey. Cute. So you'll see the little donkey in the background. Don't pay attention to the donkey. Now, I need to move my laptop because I cannot see without my glasses. Has anyone done laser eye surgery? I'm kind of like, every year I have a moment where I think, maybe I'll do that. And then I never do because I'm scared. Question number 1. The BFF. A book that not everyone likes, but has been with you since the start. You'll always love them. For me, that is 100% The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This is a ghost story that really not everyone likes. Like, even people who have read adaptations or books that are inspired by it, like The Turn of the Key is inspired by The Turn of the Screw. Many of those people hate The Turn of the Screw. The Turn of the Screw is about a governess who goes to stay with this family and to take care of the children of this family, and she sees these a man and a woman in particular on the grounds, and she thinks they're ghosts and she's trying to protect the children. I thought it was terrifying. I think I read this when I was, I don't know, like 18, and I was terrified. I've never read it since, even though I should. It's quite small. It's like 100, just over 100 pages. I love this book, but I think I might be the only one, and that's okay with me. I will stick by my BFF. That's fine. Question number 2. The Long Drive. A book you take on a journey, or if you knew you'll be spending a lot of time unable to move. Think plane, train, or automobile. Now, Victoria had the biggest book I think I've ever seen in the world. It was a Hilary Mantel. And hats off to Victoria, because Hilary Mantel slightly terrifies me because her books are so big, and I know I'm probably missing out majorly. But she did inspire me to choose a couple of big books. Now, I couldn't pick between these two, but I know for myself, when I am traveling, I need either something that's going to be very emotional, like I read Lily and the Octopus while traveling, bawled my eyes out on a plane, was fine with it. Or I need something really fast-paced that I like need to find out what's going to happen next. The Hunger Games, read on a train. So I chose 2 thrillery kinds of books. One is The Chestnut Man by Soren Svestrup, who was the creator of The Killing. And in this book, we're following a detective, I believe, who is trying to find this man, the psychopath, who is leaving these little chestnut men that he's created them. He's created them and he places them beside the dead body of the person that he just killed. He or she. And many of the people who have been killed haven't been these high-profile people. However, when a government minister's daughter is kidnapped and murdered, it raises some questions, and people start to get more heavily invested in finding the person who is the Chestnut Man. It sounds fantastic. I don't know how I haven't read it yet, but I haven't. And then the other one that I could see myself racing through is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. And in this book, a young boy goes missing for days. And he comes back out of the woods a changed boy. He comes back out of the woods safe and sound physically, but he has an imaginary friend now, and he has been told in some way that he needs to build this treehouse before Christmas, I think, or something bad is going to happen. And so we follow this mother trying to work with her child, help her child, and I imagine also being terrified by what happened to this child. So I could see myself reading either of those two. Question number 3. The Newcomer. The most recent book you've read that you can't stop talking about. So for me, that would probably be Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Mickey Kendall wrote this book. She's a Black woman living in America. I think living in America, right? Am I losing my mind? I'm pretty darn sure it's America. And she is talking about how the feminist movement has some major issues within it that is often leaving behind Black women, Indigenous women, women of color. And she explores in each chapter how this is happening, through housing, through hunger, and the list goes on. And it really has blown my mind and made me have a hard look at myself and my own feminism. And I think I had a very narrow belief of what feminism was before I read this book. And so I'm talking about this book a lot to a lot of people, to anyone who will listen, like you guys. Hello. Have you read Hood Feminism yet? Because you should. Number 4, The Quiet One. The book you reach for when you need some peace and quiet. And there's so many books I could have chosen. Any sort of like children's literature I could have chosen. But when I think of a book that I would go to for comfort, to just chill and unwind, I can't think of a book that I'd probably want to read more than Pride and Prejudice. Now, I say this having not read or reread Pride and Prejudice since I was 17. That's a long time. That's over 20 years ago that I read this. So maybe it's nearly time for me to reread this, but it would just be a comfort read to me. I just adored it. I have such fond memories of it. Yeah, so Pride and Prejudice all the way. And also maybe the adaptation, BBC adaptation, of course. Number 5, The Outgoing One. The book you love to read in public or don't mind keeping with you for antisocial social occasions. I chose I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Again, when I'm in public and I'm trying to read, I have a really hard time reading in public just generally because I get distracted, I'm people watching, and I just have a hard time of it. But with this book, firstly, it's very fast paced and you're wondering the entire time what in the world is going on because you're following a girl who is going home on a road trip with her boyfriend to meet his family. She should be happy, but she's thinking of ending things, and these strange things keep happening on the road trip. Things that she's trying to hide from her boyfriend, experiences she's having. She's getting these flashbacks to the past, and the whole time you're wondering what in the world is going on. And so I feel like I could flip the pages reading this. Yeah, so I would pick this. Number 6, The Guilty Pleasure. The book you don't want to justify because it would be too embarrassing, but you love it nonetheless. And I chose a book that I haven't even read yet, but when I'm filming this, I haven't read it. And it's One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. I chose this because I love The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and the whole Bachelor Empire thing. And this is kind of based on that. We follow a plus-sized woman who becomes essentially the next Bachelorette. That's all. It's totally a guilty pleasure. And The Bachelor is a guilty pleasure. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not. Although The Bachelor could do a bit better with several things like representation in all ways. Question number 7, The Stranger, the book no one seems to have heard of and you wish everyone had read it so you could talk about it. And this was, as soon as I saw and heard this question, this is always my go-to book for this question. And this is Come Thou Tortoise by Jessica Grant. She is a Canadian author. I have talked about this several times on my channel, and whenever one of you say that you've read this or you're picking it up because of me, I cannot tell you that how much joy that brings me. Like, I can't think of a lot of books on my shelves that bring me that much joy knowing that you're reading it because of me. Like, this is the strangest book and the hardest to explain, but we follow a young woman named Audrey, and she's trying to get home to her father who is in a coma. And it is about the journey there, about the pet tortoise Winifred that she leaves behind, and it's about her relationship with her father and her Uncle Toby. And she is a quirky character, the most lovable character. Oh my goodness. This. Question number 8. The book was better. A book you loved, but the film adaptation was awful. For me, that's The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. I could have chosen quite a few books, I suppose, but I was so excited to watch the adaptation, I should say, of The Little Stranger. And it really disappointed me, even though there were some amazing actresses in it. Like, really good actors and actresses. It just, I think, is a book that cannot be translated to the screen. And isn't that one of the biggest joys of many books, is that it's its own being. And this feels like that. This is a haunted house story of a family living in this old home. They were a family of money and they are losing their money. And a doctor goes to look in on their one servant who has fallen ill, and he ends up becoming friends with the family, and also the house is haunted. But this is really much more of a story of class. You almost wonder whether there is a ghost or not. So I would say this is literary horror. If you're looking for a haunted house story where everything's going to be terrifying all the time, that's not what this is. It's so smart, and I just adored it. But I did not like the movie. I didn't like the movie. Question number 9, the author. An author you'll read everything they'll ever produce. You trust them completely, whether it's a hardback series of 15 novels or a shopping list. For me, that is always going to be Gillian Flynn. I love her. I miss her. I've read everything by her. She writes the best thrillers, I think, in the genre. They are twisty-turny. They are filled with incredibly unlikable characters. They are gritty and violent, and they are everything that I want in a thriller. And she just is a master. She also writes really twisted women. And I don't know about you, but for some reason the idea of a scary woman, because women are generally, not always, but generally not so scary, the idea of a scary woman like terrifies me. And she just writes the best scary women ever. Love her. Gillian, we miss you. Please write more. I reread this last year and it was my favorite book of the year. And it was a reread. What? Okay. And number 10, the tubers. Pick 3 YouTubers, tag them, and let them know they're your ride or die. So I'm going to pick GK Reads, Grace from GK Reads. I'm going to pick Ashley from the Bookish Realm. And I'm going to pick Vicky from Vicky's Book Nook. And that's it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little tag. Totally impromptu. I just had to film it as soon as I started watching Victoria's video. I wasn't even tagged, but I don't care. I loved it so much. I hope you guys are doing really well. In the description box below, you can find my Goodreads, my Instagram, my Amazon wishlist, my Patreon. Hang out with me, and I will talk with you soon. Bye!